Hi guys, it's Izzy and I'm back with another film review. Thank you to everyone that showed me some support and some interest on my last video. And thank you to everyone that left me some recommendations in the comments. I really appreciate it, and honestly, keep them coming. But in the meantime, I have some videos that I've already made some notes on that I'm going to be pumping out over the next couple of weeks, but honestly, keep the recommendations going, please. So this film I thought I just had to follow on The Truman Show with, because I actually found a segue between the two. And I don't know if it's a bit of a reach between the two films, but I'm hoping I'm gonna make sense why I'm talking about this film after The Truman Show. I kind of found a link. So yeah, the film I'm going to be discussing today is called Room. I'm really sorry in advance if I start calling it The Room. Sort of habit. I always thought this film was called The Room, but it's not. That's a completely different film altogether. So the film that I'm going to be discussing is the 2015 film Room. So this is a little indie film, and it's also a drama. It's very much so a drama, and it's directed by Lenny Abrahamson and also written by Emma Donoghue, who wrote the book called Room. Funnily enough. So because this is a discussion, I am going to be giving away spoilers, so sorry in advance. I'm the sort of person, I don't care about spoilers. I will literally like read the plot of a film before I go and watch it, just because I am nosy and I like to know what's coming. But I know a lot of people, they don't like spoilers whatsoever. But for this particular film, I don't think I'm going to be giving away too much more than the trailer itself. I know a lot of people didn't like the trailer because they thought it gave away the whole film, but I would argue the contrary. I believe that this isn't the sort of film you watch to know what's happening. I believe that this is quite the performance piece from the actors themselves. So even though I googled the story before I watched the film and I knew what was coming, I still loved watching this film. That didn't take away from the experience of watching the film whatsoever. So the film is starring Brie Larson, who actually won the Best Actress Oscar for this role in the film, and whew, that one was well deserved, because oh my gosh, you just felt her every emotion in the film. Sorry, I think when I do that, that sort of highlights my roots. Let's ignore them. And the role of the 5-year-old boy Jack in the film was played by Jacob Tremblay. I believe he was a bit older than 5 in the film, but whoa, he was still, for his age, such a good actor. In fact, no, not even just for his age, he was just such a good actor. His performance was just so convincing and so accurate that he was just decades above his age in talent. So the plot of the film is about a mother who is being held captive and a little boy who has been held captive his whole life, so he doesn't know any difference. You sort of hear about these sorts of stories like in the news sometimes, and I thought that this was based on a true story. It just seems so realistic. And it's not based on a true story as such, but Emma Donoghue, she's claimed to have used the inspiration for the film after she seen the Fritzl case, which is just like a horrendous case, and I'm not getting into that one in this video. But yeah, the story itself is not based on a true story, but that for me just shows how good the actors were in it. Like, it just seems so hauntingly familiar that you thought it was based on a true story. Even though the whole plot of the film is the mum obviously wanting to escape from her captor and like be free and go back into the real world, it's not an escape film whatsoever. Like, I wouldn't say like the Great Escape or Panic Room or something that really is focused on like these people wanting to get out. The film itself, well, the main like theme that I got from it anyway was like the relationship between mother and child, and like world building, because this is how I'm sort of linking it to The Truman Show. So, because I always thought in The Truman Show, what happens if he didn't know about the real world? Would he still want to escape? And that is exactly what happens to Jack in this film. So this film for me is very much about a mother wanting to make the world a better place for her child, even if she can't control the world that he's in. So Brie Larson's character, Ma, or Joy, she makes a decision to tell Jack that Room is everything there is in the whole universe, that is reality. So in the room they've got a little television set, so everything that Jack knows about the real world he knows from being told by Joy or from seeing it through the television set, but he doesn't think that the television is real. He thinks it's just showing little stories on it. So he thinks everything that he sees on the television is make-believe. He has no concept that there is a whole world outside this room that he's grown up in for 5 years. So this film is very much about perception and reality, and how one reality might be one thing for one person but then a completely different thing for the other. So the real lack of emotion that the captor shows to the mother and child, you really get a sense of how much the mother's actually sacrificing for her son, because she must be terrified, but she still is doing everything in her power to not tell Jack about the real world and just to keep him as sane as possible. So this room that has essentially been a prison for the mum, and like the scariest thing imaginable because she's been taken from her real world into this room and she can't get out, is actually sort of the safe space and home for the boy. So just really shows two different perspectives there. So I really enjoyed the pacing of this film and the storyline of it, because when I was watching this film I was sort of fearing that they'd just be found and then you wouldn't really see what happened after there. But this film is focused an awful lot on like the world outside as well. So once they get captured and like their adjustment to going back to reality basically. So obviously the character of Joy, she's been looking forward to going back to the real world like for the last however many years she's been held captive. And then when she goes back to the real world, she realises it's not as she remembered. Her parents have split up, and even though she still lives in her old childhood home, she's grown and she's missed out on so much of her adult life that she struggles to cope once she actually comes out of the room. But the real world seems to be such a positive experience for Jack, even though at first he seemed really scared to go out in the real world, because obviously he had never experienced anything like it before. And he just plays it so well. You really believe that when he comes out of room, it's a character that has never seen the outside. You feel his excitement to see all the ordinary things in life that you just would take for granted seeing. So I think my favourite quote from the film is when he said that it's like listening to all the TV planets playing all at once, and he doesn't even know what to watch or what to listen to because it's so much to take in, and he just plays it so well and so convincingly that you really do believe that you're watching a little boy that has never experienced anything before experiencing it all for the first time. And it's just really refreshing to see like the excitement in a little boy's face from like all the ordinary things that you take for granted in life.
When I was small, I only knew small things, but now I'm 5, I know everything.
So I think the ending of this film really brought the whole theme together really well. So basically the little boy Jack, he's throughout the film he says he misses room, so he goes back with his mum to say goodbye to the room, and you really appreciate the sacrifice that the mum must have been making to give the son that closure, because she's going back to a place that was obviously very traumatic for her, but she still goes to give her son closure. And when they go back, it's actually filmed so perfectly because they film it in a way that the room looks a lot smaller. And Jack himself, he even asks his mum like, is this room? He doesn't even recognise the place that he spent his entire life growing up in, because it just seemed so much smaller after he's seen the real world. She's like, yeah, this is room, and he's like, oh, bye room. I should mention as well, like, mother taught him that every single thing in the room had a name, so she always made him say hi to lamp, hi to door, so every single thing in the room had a sort of name and purpose in the world. So she really created this whole little world for a child that wasn't a scary place. So in a way this sort of is a coming of age film for the boy, because he sort of accepts that this isn't room anymore, like it's not his world anymore, and he has no purpose for the room anymore, and he's just like, okay, yeah, done that sort of thing. And he tells his mum to say bye to the room too, and she's just sort of looking around, still very traumatised, and just sort of under her breath she just sort of whispers bye, which is just such a touching moment, because you just see how much closure they both get from it, and they're sort of become ready to move on with the rest of their lives, hopefully. And yeah, all round absolutely fantastic film. Still a very entertaining watch if you still know what's happening, so if you haven't already, definitely check it out. It's a good recommendation of mine. And if you have seen it already, let me know in the comments what you thought. What interpretations did you get from this film? I would love to know. So yes, thank you very much for watching. Let me know any other recommendations and I'll get on them. And thanks for watching. I will see you guys soon. Bye!